So hi NASCOM, thank you for having us. Now you might be thinking why Raj is not on the stage, right? Typical fireside and discussion on technology. What happens is we plan the questions, we come with baked answers, and that's what we have seen. But this time around, the panel was very insistive, stating that we are doing a technology session, and do you think that we should plan question and then say act it out like it was impromptu and stuff like that? So what we decided as a panel, the eminent panel has decided, let the audience pose the questions. And how will we do it? When we are doing a technology session, Raj has made the technology available for each of you. You can scan that, pose your questions. This is an app that is solely developed by Raj to make sure that events, when we talk about technology, we live by that. So on the stage, on the screen, you have the QR code. Please scan, pose your questions, and we will fight it out. And a huge round of applause for the leaders to have taken that audacious step because we don't know what's going to come. We've got some fillers, which I think while you set up, we'll get it going. The context for the day's discussion will be more around where technology is headed. Oh yeah?
Started coming.
So there you go. So, see, that's the elephant in the room, the AI, and then each of you. Let's get started. While you pose the question, let's hear the perspectives. Koshy, we'll start with you, or are you just tired after the big discourse that you had, or should we start from Raj? Yeah, Raj. Over to you, sir. The disruptive nature of AI and the strategy your company has adopted.
Yeah. From the context of Zoho as a company, we are a B2B company. We have been building software for the past 30 years for organizations to work with their customers, help their customers work with their customers. So the context of AI is not consumerish AI. It won't be a ChatGPT-like AI where anything you interact with the AI is used for training for the next interaction. Here, the concept of an organizational or a business-sensitive AI is when we create an engine, that engine will be born with a fresh mind for your instance as an organization. Only data that you provided with permissions will be allowed for training, and not even Zoho or other companies that use the same, we call it ZIA, Zoho Intelligent Agent. None of those can be used across the organizational boundaries. The second important checkpoint we keep for ourselves is responsibility and observability. You cannot afford to hallucinate, particularly with the products like Zoho Books or Zoho CRM. The context that you use has to be clear, has to be explainable. The customer should know whether they are talking to an AI agent or a human, always at every point of time. These are considerations that we have. And the third most important consideration we tell ourselves is, even within an organization, data that is visible to one person need not be visible to the other. For example, we have an AI product called Zoho People, where all HR related activities with a load of AI has been launched a couple of years ago. Here I can actually chat with the agent and ask, I want to take 3 days off so I can go on a hiking trip in the Western Ghats. What is my leave plan like? What local festivals are coming up for which the company offers me a day off anyway? And what are the tasks pending on my Zoho projects database so that I can still manage to get those tasks done because you know my rate of work, because you have been tracking me. So can you come up with some combo pitch using which I can apply for the best leave letter to my manager, minimized number of days off? So this sort of interaction is pretty private. My colleague or my manager cannot get to know these sort of interactions. So these are all checkpoints and guardrails that we do as a company when we build products for ourselves and for our 100 million customers worldwide. So.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. Yeah.
Yeah. At UST, we have launched something called Take Flight with AI. This is a program that is looking at the core 3 pillars. First is, how do you reimagine talent? Because with 30,000 employees, the biggest challenge is how do you get to awareness, adoption, and advocacy across this talent, not just the IT community. We are not talking about developers. We have to consider the HR function, right? The HR associate should adopt AI. We should look at how the sourcing will look at the AI and how do you use the right tools, right guardrails, as he rightly said, the privacy and the governance considerations. So reimagining talent has already crossed training of 25,000 employees across the globe at UST, starting from the guardrails, governance to prompt engineering to employee-focused training for developers, be it in the GitHub, GitHub Copilot or Gemini, Vertex AI, Amazon Q. So we look at the complete development, right, 360-degree, and make it part of your DNA. So right now, we have moved from the time you used to learn a language and code to actually use one of the tools to code, and you design, you create, you strategize how to optimize this code and deploy it faster. So that's the first part of it. Second is definitely the productivity improvement. All these tools are kind of changing the entire SDLC cycle, starting from how do you gather requirements, how do you actually talk to the customer, how do you collect these notes, how do you go back to the customer with a personalized conversation so that you can actually have an insightful knowledge and insightful conversation, knowing their business context, knowing their personal interests, knowing the user experience, which is very difficult earlier. If you get a BA to come to your team and start working in healthcare today and move to BFSI tomorrow, it is a huge challenge, right? So you can enable the teams like that with AI. That is what we are focusing in. So we are looking at domain-focused solutions. We are looking at our alpha AI as a practice, creating marketplace where employees can go and choose the AI models, test run with it, deploy it quickly, and you will have the entire SDLC cycle governance and entire assisted coding enabled so that you know how to go from requirements to deployment, that entire cycle. And third part is definitely how do we increase value to our customers. So at the end of the day, AI is creating a bubble and hype, as we know. So it's not about testing AI in your environment, right? It is no longer about how do I use AI just for the sake of AI. You need to really look at, is it a deterministic model you need? Is it a probabilistic model you need? Which one your customer really need? Or is it really an AI solution? You can talk about agentic AI, all these solutions, but does it really need AI? Because the compute power, cost, and the ROI of whatever you are funding, that is a challenge. If you see the Gartner paper, it says only 15% is the outcome companies are achieving. So they are questioning, do we really need to invest this? Is it worth spending this much money, creating those models and actually using that, what is the business outcome I get? So we are actually working with each of our customers to get into domain-specific solution. If you are enabling, for example, a customer service executive, we are looking at how many languages he has to talk. If it's a healthcare customer, what is the policy document reference he is looking today? Is it like 1,000 document he have to look at to answer a question? There AI makes sense, right? You can enable that customer service representative to actually go from 10 minutes call to 2 minutes or 3 minutes call. So we are doing that end-to-end journey mapping with the customer to identify the right engagements, and we have 200 plus projects always running, and this agentic platform is actually enabling us to do it faster, fail fast actually. That is what we are looking at. So that entire ecosystem is what we are focusing on building this year. And this training, upskilling is a constant challenge where each one of us has to really go back and see, what should I learn? Is it just the syntax?
Back to the drawing boards, right? With the
Right.
basics.
Is it just the syntax you want to learn? Is it just a programming language, or is it the algorithmic design? How do you actually deploy it? All the guardrails, security, performance, all those considerations, a developer can focus more. That is where we are.
Sure, thank you. And being the GDC, you will have a lot of insights there as well.
Yeah. Rather than just talking from a GDC perspective, let me talk about from an overall EY. We started the journey 3-4 years back, even at the time when the more activities were happening at the Silicon Valley. So since then, I know that more than I heard around 3 years back, the investment was more than $1.7 billion at that point in time. As you rightly mentioned, when you look into the ROI now, definitely it doesn't make sense now. But then this has all been done on the anticipation that what changes is going to happen in future, not what is going to happen now, right? So from an EY's perspective, there are 3 major focus areas. One is obviously how we can use AI for improving our productivity and the way we are doing our business, right? Not just on internal functions, but on the way we are actually connecting with the clients and delivering to the clients. Because the major services what we have, which is assurance or audit, taxation, consulting, and even M&A, or we call it as transactions. All these are very heavily human dependent today, but the effort is how to see that part of it can be actually transferred to actually a digital workforce through AI. So that is one major aspect what we are actually focusing on. The second is helping the clients with their strategy and to help them to actually adopt this, right? And build solutions for them. So one of the largest, I think, growth areas in our revenue is actually the ones which are connected with AI. So we are seeing that a lot of investments are going from the clients also, and that is resulting in revenue for us.
You touch based on the trust part. How is the customer trust showing up right now?
Exactly. The third aspect is, how we are helping the clients to actually improving the trust element of that, where we are known for actually selling trust, where we are, assurance providers. And that is one important aspect starting from the governance, because it doesn't start after you're built, because it has to start from the beginning itself, because most of the impact what comes into these solutions is from the data, where the data is coming from. Is the source of the data reliable? And that is where it starts, and then even checking on the algorithms, whether it's reliable, and also whether it's a traceability, right? These are the aspects, and plus, the governance from the leadership perspective, right? Whether these are being used in the right manner within the organization and when you're supporting the clients. These are the 3 elements where we are actually putting our energy. One is our internal, second is helping the clients, which generate revenue for us, and third is the guardrails, helping in setting the guardrails.
Yeah, because the moment that we talked about technology, the first thing and the foremost thing that everyone was talking about is AI. And we all know that how AI thinks is a black box. And that takes us to the next question by Renish. Motivation to innovate. What is our motivation? Consistency to innovate. And what are the processes to deploy the innovation in real projects and conceive adoption? Regulated environments. And that's a big thing. There is no actual governance frameworks out there. So that is something that is challenging the DPDPA Act, the coming in. So all those puts a real world challenge. And I think that's some of the thing that people wants to get addressed and how we are looking at it.
Yeah. So I'll give you Zoho's answer to this. But before that, these things are customized per person and per company. Just listening to us and you taking home what we tell you about what worked for us is probably not going to click for you. It has to be locally grounded, rooted in your culture, in your thought processes, and your chosen customers with whom you do the early adoption. Anyway, I'll tell you what Zoho does typically. One thing we understood very, very long ago that it won't work for our kind of company is the concept of a development center and a research lab. A research lab in some particular location where something high-tech, some hallowed individuals with white lab coats doing stuff, and then they invent something and innovate, and then they grant it to the outside people waiting for the innovation, and then we do the mainstream development of it. That never worked for us. And so every team has the typical, they called it the Google 20%. Yeah? The 20% time where you are free of your day-to-day chores and you're allowed to invent and innovate. For example, if you visit our office in Chennai, Tenkasi or any other location, you will see that in any visible workspace, there is one corner spot where we have a GPU empowered server-like computer and a Mac Studio box. So these are very, very powerful machines where you can do your own small language model training and experimentation and so on. So decentralized innovation is a very important thing that we have learned probably the hard way. The second thing I would like to recommend, if it works for you, you should try it. See, a company like Facebook cannot use Facebook all day and dream of launching the next version of Facebook. But at Zoho, we are lucky because Zoho runs on Zoho. We do our project management on Zoho projects. We talk to our customers on Zoho CRM. Our interactions is using Zoho Mail. So nearly 8 to 10 months before any of our products hit the outside world, we have already tested it, beaten it down, gorilla tested it, and all sorts of evaluation. So if you can eat your own dog food, like they say, it will surely help you, because long before Aratai, for example, end-to-end encryption is being launched in a couple of days. But already last week, we had a 5,000 simultaneous employees chatathon where we tried to break it down, simultaneous hits and so on. So this
Raj,
kind of, yeah.
You made all of us to use Arate. So for the coordination between the group, he insisted, let's be part of the chatathon probably.
So doing that dog fooding, if you want to build something for the world, build it using what you're building for the world. If it works for you, that would be magical. So those are the two things. And motivation to innovate. In fact, people don't want motivation to innovate. People want freedom to innovate. People want to be allowed I am ready to fail. I am ready to make a mistake if only you will let me. People want time to innovate. People want the ability to innovate wherever they are in the hierarchical structure. Don't say you need to have done and gained these labels before I allow you to innovate. If you do that, innovation is natural in every human. Let's remember that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I totally agree with Raj, what Raj was telling. Gone are the days where you just do some hackathons or labs and then let some COE folks or Center of Excellence folks sit and innovate, and then you deploy, right? You see what they are doing, you just try to see like how do I fix it to the business problem and do it. Now the innovation is happening at the edge. So wherever the customer conversations are happening, you can really identify an opportunity. You can see like how do you kind of bring in the right technology and right processes and right tools. Because if you take a healthcare customer, their demand on HIPAA compliance versus a UK customer with the GDPR compliance is totally different. So you need to really understand that customer domain and what the customer is looking for. And many a times customer won't tell you all the requirements, right? If you go to any shop, that's how it is. We have something in our mind, and how we translate might be bits and pieces. So it's more of how we enable our employees to listen more, and how do we take these AI tools to take the notes, go back and address the landscape, and see like how do we get innovation into their DNA. So when you talk, you need to start thinking, this is what the customer is looking for, but the outcome he is actually trying to achieve is something different. How do I attack that with an innovative solution? That's how. how we are actually addressing it. But UST across the board, we have something called Infinity Labs. That's actually in each center, we have a lab where a virtual private network, GPUs, CPUs, everything is available. That is to address the security constraints. So if you are working in a customer environment or in your machine, you shouldn't try all the experiments because you don't know the risk of it. So you have actually a private network available where you can actually try test models, try test your applications, whatever you want, and then you can go through all the guardrails as part of the implementation, then bring back to the customer, showcase and implement. So you will never take the customer data to experiment. Instead, you will co-create with AI the data and then you deploy the final thing. So the guardrails are developed in such a way that the physical separation, the virtual separation, you can actually bring as part of every company's ecosystem. But it's all about how each employee understand the problem. It's about how each employee start thinking like, this is what is being asked by me, but I should actually do something different. How do I make it different for the customer, not just for the sake of innovation, but he sees a difference, right? If he is able to do it with 10 minutes today, how do I make it like with 2 minutes? If he is actually selling maybe 10 products today, how do I make it like 20 products tomorrow? See, the moment you can enable the customer to do whatever he is doing more efficiently, smarter and faster, the innovation will be like part of it, right? Without innovation, you can do it. So my suggestion is don't think as innovation as a separate piece. Think of it as how do you deliver value to the customer day in and out. Innovation will follow you. You will find out there are new technologies. There are new ways to do it. And only thing is talk to people who are peers to you, brainstorm with chatbots or any of these AI tools so that you can bring in new perspective. You can reduce your bias in the innovation process, but you just need to be aware of what the customer is doing. That is the fundamentals of innovation, and that's what we believe in human-centered innovation in UST.
Perfect, perfect, because value, adding value and innovation is the culture. Perfect. So.
Yeah, so I fully agree with my fellow panelists. As Raj was mentioning, it's not just about motivation. It is about the facility, the surrounding, and the freedom what you actually provide in the ecosystem. And that actually makes a big difference. And I have seen that in my organization. Now, if you see from a global perspective, right, Kerala is not like a hotspot for technology or for innovation. But having said that, like a firm like EY, it actually set up one of the innovation locations in Kerala. And the reason for that was the leaders here actually set up a right level of environment for that. So I would say that when we talk about AI, for instance, one of the chief architects of what we have built within EY as an AI solution actually sits here, right? And he's not sitting in New York or London or Silicon Valley. The reason for that is we have created that kind of environment. So that is one important aspect. I think you're all business leaders here and you are owning organizations, you are owning enterprises. Make sure that you create that environment so that innovation happens as a habit, as a process. The other thing is, end of the day, what we are trying to do is trying to create an impact through this innovation. We are not, as you mentioned, innovating for the sake of innovation. So for that reason, we need to be closer to the problems or problem statements. So being more connected with the clients, right, to their problems actually is another important aspect for innovation to happen. Otherwise, we'll be doing things which probably is not needed for the world or for the, for our clients. So these are two important aspects, I think, beyond motivation. I think if you do these two things, be connected with the clients and give the freedom, I think innovation will happen by itself.
Perfect, so perfect, because that's what has driven, it's the needs versus the wants, and you are able to identify what goes in between, and there you make your, say, star shine. Now, before we go to the next question, it is very clear that we have a lot of bias right now, if I would put it that way, on the AI side. But there is quantum coming up big time. There is robotics plus AI, which is talking about sentinel robots taking over, or probably we are living in the future right now, Terminators, someone is coming back to us to correct this stage that we are in right now. So what are the other technologies that we need to allude into? Like AI have taken the center stage with trillions of dollars being pledged. What else can we just, because that's what's leading us to the next question. What are the other technologies that you leaders see?
So I'll keep it short because I'll pass it to my fellow panelists to talk more. But then what I know, what is happening within EY, like what we are giving importance to AI, which is the software side of it. But there's equal importance being given to the hardware side of it, because a lot of artificial intelligence being infused into the physical side of it, and there will be a major disruption happening in that side of the world. And there's a big opportunity sitting there as well, because we as a firm like EY typically may not venture into that areas. But what I've seen from the leadership messaging is that the equal amount of focus being given into the hardware or physical side of AI, and we have very strong collaboration with number of organizations and like NVIDIA, for instance, and we have done a lot of investment and partnerships on that. So it is not just in what we are hearing and seeing today. There is a wider perspective to it, and a firm like EY is actually betting into all these areas. But let me pass on to my fellow panelists.
Yeah. I believe everyone is kind of doing the same thing. Definitely an NVIDIA partnership. Partnership with all the hyperscalers, be it Azure, AWS, GCP. So the infrastructure readiness is definitely one of the challenges. So I would focus on sidelines to that. What we are looking at is getting the infrastructure is going to be a challenge when we explore at that level. But before that, how do we use the infrastructure? That observability is the challenge, right? So how do you make sure that the compute cost is minimal? So what we are encouraging each of our developers to look at is anything you look at, any application you develop, even if you bring in an NLP layer, add the observability angle, because this is a conversation we had recently with one of our financial services customer, one of the largest in the globe. He was telling like, I need this to be part of the DNA of all my employees. If they are interacting with a chatbot or an AI tool, I want them to think about the cost they are bringing to the table. So showing that cost, right? If you chat on something, generate a report that's not readily available, you can see this is costing you $10. And if as a company, you can start tracking that. What is the monthly cost? What is the cost of annual cost you are incurring? That will open up a lot more question on optimization, performance, and other things beyond the guardrails of security and things. So we are looking at that aspects more seriously and making sure that anything and everything we do, we bring that layer as part of a developer's DNA.
Observability.
Cost on earth also.
Yeah, cost on earth also definitely.
Total cost of ownership and observability is my daily bread and butter. So now we are getting asked from audit as well, why didn't you observe this? Why didn't you monitor this? There are n number of monitors. Even above that, you need to use analytics. So right. Why are we talking this? Because that leads us to the next question. The skill sets that we are looking, the soft skills.
I have an answer to the question. So, neural networks is a very common word today. Yeah, neural networks. I think it was 1954, not very sure of the last digit, when Dr. Rosenblatt came up with the idea of using a neural network to store knowledge and someday make it a thinking, intelligent machine. And do you know how he died? He died in a sailing accident. He went with two of his students in a Chesapeake Bay sail, and he died. Why did he die? For fun, he jumped off the boat because his students encouraged him to, and couldn't climb back up. He didn't know swimming. The lesson I take from this is, he owns a sailboat. He has gone into the bay with two of his students. He has jumped off the boat, couldn't climb back up, he died. So the lesson I take from this is, do not meddle with what you don't understand. Unfortunately, AI is an unusual kind of tool. There are so many tools that we have been given, blessed by mankind, starting from stones to metal hammers to electronics to computers. But today, this tool is a tool that can make tools for itself. It can obviate the need for the human to wield the tool. And if we are heading in that direction, remember Rosenblatt. Do not fiddle and meddle with things you don't completely understand. Even if it's going to save you money, even if it's going to speed up the paradox that Sir started the day with. Speed at what cost is a very important question staring us in the face today, because these are like you are doing tapas and they are these Menaka and Ramba dancing in front of you, trying to distract you away. Be very careful about it.
What an analogy, Raj. I mean, like you have threatened everyone sitting here with a fact, and then the kind of say attraction that you get to something that you don't know, the attraction of the unknown.
I was thinking like, I don't know swimming, what do I do now? He's going there.
So you posed a very serious threat on the AI dominance or probably the black box nature. Now, how do we harness, because we cannot go back. We definitely cannot go back. Now, how do we harness AI? We're talking about IQ levels of 170 at the moment. It's not, say, published, but again, it's very understandable. But we're talking about agentic OS. Probably Zoho is working in something like that. We're talking about automation that will run end-to-end, agentic to agentic protocols. So what is the takeaway for all of us sitting here to harness this in the right way, like where you said? It's all about using it in the right stance. So what are our options there? How do we, because there are a lot of questions that have come in from young professionals, middle level professionals, asking, are we getting obsolete? So how do we answer that question?
The quick answer is no, we are not getting obsolete, because this is definitely an enabler. Definitely a portion of the people thinks like they are getting encouraged by what is happening in the AI world, and the portion of people who are getting worried. But in my personal view, definitely this is going to be an enabler. Just to take an example, right? When AI is used in a healthcare world, like say radiologist, right? Today, if you are manually reading the results which is coming from a machine, if you are getting an enabler to actually help to read that machine, right? It is not that the radiologist will lose the job. The doctor is not going to lose the job. He will become more effective, efficient, and probably he will be able to do more, services, and more people will be able to actually take that service at a lower cost. So I think the efficiency, effectiveness of humans are expected to go up. Definitely there will be some outliers where we talked about some issues, problems will happen. But as a human beings, I think our productivity, efficiency, and the impact what we have on the world is definitely going to improve. That's what my take. But we have to be careful on it. We talked about the regulations, we talked about the governance. That we have to be very careful about. We cannot be just taking it forward in ignorance, taking things for granted. That's what it is.
Perfect.
Yeah, I completely echo with whatever he was telling. It's not going to replace us, right? We should stop thinking AI as our competition. We should really, if you haven't already, you should really think about how do you partner with AI so that the task you don't like, the task where your value is not really needed, that can be augmented by AI. I'll tell you a simple example, my personal experience. I love traveling. I don't know how many of you like traveling. And me being a former person, what happens is if I plan a travel for 3 days, I want to make sure that I cover everything in that place, right? So it used to be like a huge effort for me. I spend hours planning it. Sometimes most of my weekend will be spent to plan effectively so that I'll cover this place in the morning, next place in the afternoon. Then I have to use TripAdvisor, Google, Wikipedia, the travel websites available. It used to be a huge task for me. And at the end of it, I'll feel like, why did I plan this travel? It becomes like a huge nightmare to really think about it. But now, if you ask me, last 1 year, I haven't done it. I started using Perplexity. I just do like 2-3 commands. And then it will give me a detailed itinerary. It will give me hotel suggestions. It will tell me the distance, which is the route I should do. So the entire effort I used to spend to plan a travel, it is being just taken over by AI, and I find joy out of it because now I can plan more travel. I can think about.
But Madam, seated in the 4th row from the back is a travel agent.
Okay.
And he is not happy.
Right.
What a real world example.
Yeah, I understand that. So that is where we need to really look at, if you are a travel agent, right, sitting, you need to think about what am I bringing as value to it. So if you are bringing value to my experience, for example, if you ask me today my problem with travel, I can tell you as a user, that's where the connecting to your user and connecting your business stakeholders, listening to them more effectively will help. So even if I try to get a best cab driver in a local place where I'm not familiar, it's very difficult. And many places he will take me for shopping, right? It's all like a business event. So at the end, you will feel that my user experience in that travel is not customized for me. So now the travel agent can spend more time understanding me. He will have all the history of data of how I have traveled. But I don't think he or she is using it today. He is actually taking my next travel as a fresh travel, planning it for me. But you can actually use this data, but use technology to help changing the experience. So if you look at how the travel industry is changing now, right, it is just like the number of cafes you see in Kochi these days. It is just a coffee drinking experience. But all the people, including me, I like to go and have a coffee, chill and vibe. That's a word, right? So that is the experience you are bringing to the table. So the travel agent have to think like, how do you bring that kind of a joyful experience for the person who is traveling? And that's where you have deep expertise. If you have been in the travel industry for 10 years, you can recommend me a better location than where I am planning. So starting from there, everything in my experience can be customized. And this is a premium business. If you don't realize, any time you personalize, it becomes a revenue generation, 100%. Right? So those are the possibilities. I would say we are working with our customers, maybe on the healthcare, BFSI, logistics, supply chain optimization in the retail. But you can look at whichever industry you are, what is the pain area for the customer? How do you use your domain knowledge? That's the first aspect. If you don't know the domain, that's a problem. You cannot serve the customer better. And secondly, how do you bring technology to enable faster and personalized service? I would say that's how we need to shift.
Yeah, so typically this conversation, panel after panel, place after place, this question comes up. Will a robot take my job? There is a website called willrobotstakemyjob.com. Go seriously, check it out. You can type, I am an engineer, I am a teacher, I am a doctor. It gives you a percentage prediction. Go take a look. So the question always comes up and the answers typically are, they won't make us obsolete, they will empower us. Or, yeah, an AI is not going to take your job. Somebody who can use AI better than you will take your job. That's the typical line. But over time, after meeting people, interacting with people, reading books and suffering through it my way, one kind of understanding, a positive, optimistic understanding I have reached for the remainder of my life is this. Long ago, during the Hitler period, Nazi regime, there were these concentration camps. And in one of those concentration camps, there is a very beautiful, poignant photo, black and white photo of the entrance to the camp. It has a German phrase that says, Arbeit macht frei, which means work will set you free. Work will set you free is the line that goes there. So I have supreme confidence in the laziness of the human spirit. People don't want to work. People simply don't want to work. So today, even if there is one travel agent who uses AI and he is afraid because all the knowledge I have gained, all the personal experience I have gained is no match, because ChatGPT 5 tells me, when Sam Altman launched ChatGPT, he said, it is like you have an unpaid intern who never sleeps, who has PhD in every subject. That's how he introduced ChatGPT 5. Who can match that intellect? But the point is, we will plumb new depths of laziness. We will go. Already when the calculator came, we were all afraid. Everybody will do mathematics in mind. But we are now forgetting even the little that we knew. Handwriting went. Google Maps came. Pathfinding went. Mapping using stars and directions gone. So only thing you need to do if you want to survive and thrive in this new era is to rediscover the new meaning of work and be ready to put in hard work. That has always been the differentiator between Sachin Tendulkar and Vinod Kambli. Both had amazing talent. Sachin worked. Kambli went on parties. Sorry. And we knew what the result is. So be ready to put in hard work. After redefining what work in this new era is, you are safe. I am safe.
Wow. Koshy, anything more to add?
Absolutely. I fully echo what Raj mentioned. And before we conclude, right, the three things what we are anticipating, the major change will come from an AI perspective. One, obviously, we talked about impacting the individuals, right, in our productivity as individuals. The second important aspect which change is coming is from a perspective of teams. Like if you take a software development, we have actually implemented solutions like SDLC, which is helping the teams, not like individual. And the third is from an organization's perspective. The business models will have an impact from AI. So these are the three levels. And I think we need to be prepared for it. And although I said it's not going to take away jobs from us, but then, as you rightly said, if we are not reinventing ourselves, it will be an issue for us. That's true, sir.
100%. Like, what more can you expect from such learned panel who have been doing it day in, day out? So, work shall set you free, and inherently all humans are lazy. And that is the mother of all inventions, right? Being lazy.
Laziness is a virtue.
It's a virtue. Now, knowing that work shall set you free, and that inherent nature that all humans are lazy and they invent so that they can be more lazy, knowing that by yourself, the truth, that is the truth, and the truth shall set you free. With that, we conclude this session. Such a brilliant discussion, and thanks for all the questions. There was one last question on the security that we couldn't read out, but again, I think we covered everything that is needed on the technology front. Thank you so very much for having us, and thanks for the points that you discussed. Thank you so much.